Hey folks, it's Tiffany here with Range Master with another episode of Meet the Trainers. And I don't know, Lee, have you done one of these before? Lee always
Did
just kind of
one.
strolls in the TACCON like everybody knows me. It's all no, I'm just teasing.
I basically feel like nobody cares, so I really don't need to do one. Um,
Well, we're gonna make them care. That's what we're doing. No, but I just
a couple of times I've just made my own.
oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You did. Well,
I did the one man press conference one time because I was getting asked a bunch of questions that I thought I already answered. And
Well,
but
we have got a bunch of stuff to cover because you're teaching 8 billion classes, for which I thank you because all of them are fantastic. And I feel really bad that I put all of them on the schedule. So you're working a billion hours. But I
no,
did
you don't.
I do feel bad. I do.
No,
And
you
I
don't.
and
No, you
for
don't.
the record, I gave Lee the opportunity to back out, but duty called and he stayed in the fight. So thank you, sir.
I simply responded, "I'll do whatever's needed.
Well, you're always needed, Lee. Always. So
I'll
that
do
was
whatever's needed."
fun. Well,
Well, see, I have to do things like that to make up for all my other shortcomings.
oh, is that what it is?
That's what it is.
Well, for the folks attending TACCON, there will be no shortcomings on display because Lee has got an entire repertoire of classes that he's teaching, and each one of them is better than the first. So, why don't we start out with the ones that you have done before, and then
Mhm.
we'll move into some new stuff that you're bringing. So, tactical civics. This was very well received last year, and we are reprising it. Tell everybody what they can expect in this classroom block.
Well, tactical civics is basically the civics class that you should have gotten in high school. And I just call it tactical to get young people to pay attention to it.
I love it, love it, love it. But it is not just, it's not that class that you would have skipped and gone and, done bad stuff in high school. This is the one that will actually keep your attention and give you some stuff to chew on.
Who would have skipped civics class? If you're going to skip a class, skip a math class.
All right, I'll give you that, but civics might not be too far ahead of math at
Oh, you
least
wound me. You
I'm
wound
not
me.
gonna name my middle school teacher, but that's probably more of a reflection on her than anybody else. So, all right, fair enough. Okay, and we are also re bringing back favorite studies, right? And this
Oh,
is oh sorry.
a note on tactical civics
Oh yeah,
before
yeah,
we get started. Folks, there is a humongous PDF handout available. That was you can get the link in the app or whatever the web page, whichever place you go. Don't print that out. Don't. It's got blank. It's got way too many blank. The scanner, I put it all in one big document and scanned it in. I will reference page numbers, and you can just if you download it like your iPad or your phone. You can just scroll to those page numbers, and we can hit what we need to hit. I just wanted to make sure you had the documents, and so that you wouldn't think I was just making all this stuff up.
You can literally access the PDF from the app on your phone while you're sitting in class. So it's there.
Okay.
And I would be shocked if Lee doesn't also post it to the file section in the Facebook group, which if you don't get that joke, then you haven't been at TACCON long enough. So we'll just leave it at that. Uh,
Apparently, I'm the only one that knows the file section exists.
no,
You and me, you and me.
I know it exists. And I
Right.
look forward to all of your files section quips in the Facebook group. It cracks me up every time. All right. So favorite studies
Mhm.
is a team effort by you and Hearn and Gelhouse. So tell me
Mhm.
about the chess club and you all's favorite studies.
We did it the first time 2 years ago. We each picked a study and presented it in the class, just like this is something we think that is beneficial, and how might it apply to your world, uh, be it training or your lifestyle or whatever. Last year, Eric and John did it because I wasn't by themselves because I wasn't certain I was going to be able to make it last year. It was kind of a last second thing. But with me already having my leave time approved to be there this year, um, hopefully, um, you never can tell. I'm always subject to subpoena. Um, um, I'll be back in the group, and we're each basically going to take a study and present. what the findings from the study were, and mine will actually be hopefully relevant to you. It's something people argue about,
I was
and
going to
so
ask you if you guys had already picked your studies yet. So I'm
I
not
have.
shocked that you've picked yours, but who knows if Hearn and Galehouse have picked theirs.
Well, nobody's going to pay attention to Hearn, so it doesn't really matter what he says. So
Again, folks, if you don't get the Lee Hearn jokes, then you haven't been around long enough. But it only takes 20 minutes for you to understand the dynamic between those two. It just goes downhill from here. But it's all in
they're
love.
not
All in love.
they're not jokes. They're all serious.
See what I mean? Told you. All right. So those are the two that we're reprising. But in addition to that,
Hmm.
you're now bringing some new classes. Your live fire
Hmm.
blocks are all instructor workshops. The
Hmm.
first is drills more relevant than the bill drill? Question mark. Tell us
Hmm.
about that one.
Oh, I'm just a fat guy with questions. So that's why there's a question mark in the title. Uh, the build drill is one of those drills that's iconic. Everybody knows about it, um, and it gets a lot of play. What's your build drill time? Let's uh, maybe come to the class and we'll do some things with those 6 rounds that we'll see if you decide whether or not maybe they're more valuable than the build drill.
Nice. I
You,
love
you may you may decide you think the bill drill is more valuable than anything that I have to offer.
how
Okay, okay.
I was gonna say, I love how Lee teases his classes. You always just kind of drop a little grenade and turn around and walk off and dare people to take you up on it, and it's always hilarious. So well played from a marketing
Mhm,
perspective. I love it. All right, and then your other instructor workshop
mhm,
is another question that you pose to the
mhm,
TACCON family, which is time better spent than chasing a sub-second draw? Question mark. Tell us about
mhm.
that one.
Well, same thing. The sub-second draw seems to be one of those unicorns that the whole training world chases,
Mhm.
and maybe, just maybe, there are things that may be more relevant than that. There may be time better spent. You may come away thinking, no, no, no. I'm adamant that the sub-second draw is the number one important factor. Okay, all right. But
How
yeah, m- maybe you come away thinking, you know what? Maybe there's some other things we need to be dealing with here when it comes to the presentation of the pistol from the holster. And I don't know. We'll see.
I'll see.
I'm just asking questions.
Uh-huh.
I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just asking questions.
Okay, fair enough. Well, folks, those two live fire classes are both repeated. So you've got two options to get
Mhm.
into one of those classes with Lee. Tax civics and favorite studies, those are not repeated, right? Those only occur once.
I think those are just once.
Those are just once because we had to give Lee some time to actually get lunch and, bathe and stuff like that. So, all right. And I was so excited. I jumped right into your classes without inviting you to introduce yourself. So, if there happens to be anyone out there who doesn't know who you are, tell us who Lee Weems is, what first person safety is, and what all you've been up to for the last, I don't know, 20 years.
Nobody's still listening at this point, but
That's why I started with the classes, get that part out before they tune out. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead.
um, well, I spent 25 years in the field as a peace officer. Actually, I'm doing working cop stuff. Although you could argue that since I was admin for 12 years of that, maybe I wasn't working that much. Um, but a year ago, I moved into a full-time academy setting. And so I hope you read my intro because I borrowed one of your phrases. You and I talk about gateway students. I have now plunged into the abyss of government funded gateway students.
Which is
And
more
you
eventful.
know, I used to run it. What's that?
So, which is probably even more eventful than the gateway students I can I deal with.
I used to do a training program for jailers that the agency was going to send to the academy, and that was usually a one-on-one or a one-on-two setting. And I had plenty of time. And now I may have 40 cadets in a live fire class. And sometimes I stand around and go, what on earth did I volunteer for? I filled out the application to come do this. And, but what it has done, um, it's given me a laboratory to experiment and play. And on the academic side, I had a background. I'd studied a master's of public administration 20 something years ago. I graduated with that because I always wanted to be in charge. That was my thing. I wanted to run an agency. And after I found out, after running an agency for 12 years, my God, I hate being in charge. Can I please just go do something else? And so I went back to school and did a graduate certificate in workforce and adult education. And but honestly enough, it was most of the same authors. The text was all quite often the same people, was just looked at from a different perspective. Um, and I've kind of developed a methodology out of coming out of all of that. That's why I've started teaching with questions instead of teaching with absolutes.
Hmm.
And that's why both of these live fire blocks that I'm running, they have question marks in the titles. I'm just trying to here's some things out. Let's play an experiment. Let's see what you come out with. Um, I'm applying that a lot in the classroom, at least on the hands-on stuff with the cadets, and it seems to be working very well to a certain extent. Although this last bunch I just had drove me insane, and Angry Lee came back out, and I've been keeping him suppressed, but Angry Lee escaped the box for this last bunch.
Uh-oh.
Um, yeah,
Well, I
I
got to hear about
also Yeah, I also teach college classes, mostly political science. So that's where my teaching background on the civics side comes out. So basically all my worlds kind of combine and intercollide. The whole adult education thing versus the academic background thing versus the firearms thing, they all kind of intertwine and roll together. Um,
well, learning and
maybe
learning.
maybe one of these days I'll figure out what I actually want to do.
I'm right there with you. I have no idea. Every day I wake up, I'm like, I don't know, I'll try something else.
Yeah.
But anyway, and last thing, you also have a podcast, which is
Mhm.
somewhat halfway marginally decent.
Well, thank you. That's high
I'm
praise.
teasing. No, it's
That's high
fantastic.
praise.
It's fantastic. It's very popular. So just wanted to give a quick
Mhm.
plug for anybody that's not familiar with the podcast. Tell us about it real quick and where we can find it.
The podcast is That Weems Guy. And you can find it on any of the podcast players. It also plays on YouTube. Um, Usually comes out on Mondays, provided I do an episode. I was very diligent in the first year or so of having an episode every week, unless I was like laid up with COVID or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh, Here lately, it's been a little difficult to get the episodes put out on a weekly basis, but I'm sitting here in That Wings Guy headquarters right now. The background's familiar for those of you that watch the show.
Yeah.
Um, I will say that the show may have peaked a little bit, and then it's on the downhill valley. It's hard to keep something fresh when you're doing it for so long. A lot of the early episodes delved into the history of firearms training,
Hmm.
how we all evolved. Um, and basically a lot of some of the episodes were just arguments that I was seeing online. Well, as I've been
Let's talk
accused of
about
dropping a grenade in the middle of something. Uh,
it. Well, it's
yeah,
fantastic. I don't know if the numbers indicate that it's plateaued, but it's still definitely useful
yeah.
and helpful and interesting. And you have fantastic guests. So encourage everybody to check it out. And of course, your training site is firstpersonsafety.com.
Hmm.
Is that right? Fantastic. All right, Lee. Well, I personally thank you for committing to teach so many classes at TACCON because you're covering a whole lot of ground and I really appreciate it. And just on behalf of everybody at TACCON, thanks for being such a long-standing, committed member of the TACCON family and the Rangemaster family, by the way. Rangemaster
Thank you.
staff, Lee Weems. Appreciate that. All right, buddy. Well, I will see you, I guess, next weekend or 2 weeks from now or something like that. For,
Something like that.
for other business, other Rangemaster stuff. But I will also see you in Dallas for TACCON, and I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to it. You get some rest, all right?
All righty.